Welcome to today's episode. Happy to have Dustin Dye here in person in the studio. Big figure here in Silicon Beach, advising startups and CEO, founder of Botcopy. Thanks for being with us today, Dustin.
Yeah, Jason. Fun to be here.
Yeah.
Beautiful space.
Yeah. Try to set up the right creative environment, you know?
Yeah. Funny, I actually thought this was a phone call podcast a half hour ago. So it's good to actually see you in person,
And
man.
we appreciate that you did rush over. Thanks so much. This is also, I should mention, an honor having you here because one of the incubators of this concept was Dustin, Test Optimized Scale. Came up with that on a boat trip to a sailing trip out to Catalina in the middle of the night last summer.
Yeah, we took off at night. That was cool. It was a full moon. The stars are out.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a fun trip.
Yeah.
But I remember that we were writing down ideas, we
Yeah.
wanted to start a podcast, and here we are. Sweet.
You and Ryan Folan actually have a freestyle rapping background as well, too, right? That's what some of the writing was about.
Yeah, we'll save that for the boat.
But again, it's privileged to have you here based on everything you've done in this community. And I guess just want to start out by asking that, how did you get here? What's your story? How did you get into this whole world of tech and overall business launch?
Yeah, I kind of jumped into it around 3-4 years ago when I really met Brian McMahon at Expert Dojo. I came from St. Louis, started my own real estate company there, just a small fund we'd invest into real estate, and actually originally came to California to help find some funding for other investors who want to invest in new Midwestern properties, and just saw a really cool startup scene, companies all pretty much every vertical here in Silicon Beach, and then met Brian, and he had this really amazing space called Expert Dojo above the Santa Monica Place Mall. And before you knew it, I was kind of helping him run the show there. And I think in the first year, we coached over 1,500 different startup companies here in LA.
1,500.
Yeah, it was a fun time, but it kind of sucked me in and motivated me to start my own company again. And here we are today, and I own co-founder at Botcopy, and it's fun.
There you go. And for the audience, what is Botcopy?
So try to keep it simple. Botcopy is the web chat interface for Google's Dialogflow. Dialogflow is an NLP engine
and that's neuro-linguistics
natural language processing.
Natural language processing.
So there's also, it's NLP and NLU.
Right.
But it's basically a builder, an engine to create these chat experiences. As you can see on Alexa, Google Home, those are voice platforms. Now you build those experiences in Dialogflow. And then you also have Facebook Messenger, SMS, even like email, and a whole bunch of other social platforms. But there was limitation for Dialogflow and web chat. So we created a SaaS product for companies to build on Dialogflow and design and brand their own custom web chat. So we accept all Google Assistant response types, and it's been growing like crazy. It's been a fun ride.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's AI, artificial intelligence?
Yeah, well, AI has a lot of meanings. Some people think like straight robots and things like that.
Okay.
And then some people see it as like image recognition, and there's a whole bunch. We're like conversational AI. So you do program experiences. If you ask the question, you should be able to facilitate an answer.
Sure.
Most companies start with like a decision tree model. But the NLP really comes in where you can take a sentence, and really a sentence has over 1,000 different ways that you could structure that sentence and it to still mean the same thing. So the natural language processing is taking that sentence. A customer might ask something, how much does it cost? What's the price? How much is it? Those are 3 ways to ask the same thing. So the engine's really picking up that that language and delivering an answer accordingly. So in a nutshell, that's what Dialogflow is.
Sure.
It can get pretty technical though. So
I imagine.
yeah.
What does development look like on that? Are you talking few weeks, few months, longer to build a response matrix and get it in the right brand voice?
That's a great question. Is one of the bigger things that we're trying to work on at Botcopy to help companies, because a lot of people are creating accounts. We've grown to about 20 accounts a day being created. But the time they create to getting their bot live has been anywhere from like a month to 3 months. And that's because each one is creating their own custom experience. Like one company, even their FAQs is going to be a lot different than another company. So we run like workshops. We had the pleasure of writing. Botcopy started actually as a creative writing agency where we would really just focus on the conversational design aspect. And then most clients wanted us to put it on their website. So that's kind of where the SaaS came in. But these are custom chats, so they do take a little bit longer. But as a business, that's one thing that we're trying to figure out. How can we cut down on that time, provide a product that's a little simpler in the beginning and can learn and scale. Similar to a lot of what you talk about. You kind of look at what you got. You launch it, scale it, kind of thing. And that process is interesting because a lot of companies want to build as much as they can before they launch. And sometimes just getting something simple, having a default response if it doesn't recognize what's been said, and then learning from that and building it for the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about those learnings, right? Saying they've used on the show before of breakdowns lead to breakthroughs, and we'll get into the optimization section a bit. But sometimes, a first attempt not working is really what allows you to find what's going to deliver and be more widespread, right?
Yeah, it's with chat experiences, you really never know what people are going to ask. Like we've in our chat, like people ask us for a beer all the time, and some like random shit that comes on there, and sometimes it's like you get to know a little bit more about your audience depending on what they're asking. But
what is the scripted response for a beer?
There's a handful. Like what kind?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just.
Where do you see the direction of overall bot conversations going in the coming years or even longer? I mean, I use it a bit in Facebook Messenger. We'll run advertising to it, and we've seen it be more effective than a customer support agent. I know anytime you talk to like an auto insurance company, they have automated responses and different website pop-ups. What are the next levels of that? Where is this whole company? Where's the whole industry going?
Yeah, it's kind of in the hands of the creatives at the moment.
Okay,
because it's easy to create a pretty shitty bot experience. And it's also
I've seen those.
Yeah, and it's also you can create really fun, like engaging ones at the same time. So. The tech's finally at a stage in like the AI space where creatives are actually starting to come in. I feel like in a lot of times when you're looking at a product or a market segment and you look at the lifetime of this segment where you've got like really early adopters and then you go through that whole phase and in this space it's very technical. You've got high full stack engineers, really high level coming in and creating these experiences.
Sure.
But there's so much to them that it needs other talent as well to make these experiences right. We noticed that 3-4 years ago when we were playing around when Alexa first came out. That it was cool. Like the use case was great, but more interviews I did and more research, it was these engineers who were actually writing the copy for these conversations as well. And that's just not every engineer is a professional creative copywriter. It just doesn't It doesn't happen. And I think that the AI is really getting into a space where the tech's easy enough for a designer or a high-end creative to come in and play around.
Sure.
And I think that's going to contribute to just a better overall experience. And I think there's also a little bit of a stigma with AI and bots in general, where people, a lot of times when they chat, they just kind of demand to chat with a human, which is natural. But I think that people start to realize that we really don't like jazz music when we listen or on hold waiting for a human and then getting asked the same questions over and over again as we get handed off.
Yeah.
And that's just not a good experience either. And I think call centers, they're starting to realize that. And AI is gonna play a big role in helping them slowly transition and automate some of the things that could be a little bit better of a customer experience. Siri's picking up really well. I mean, I have the AirPods and actually use Siri quite often. I think the voice space is still pretty early. It's been around for a while, but I'm not sold necessarily on like the business experiences. It's more of like, it's really nice for personal use. I don't know how much Amazon sells on Alexa, purchasing habits. I think it's a cool idea. Hey Alexa, order me toilet paper. That's something you need once, twice a month to order. You don't want to go to the convenience store necessarily to buy it. But I think there's like a little pushback on purchasing things through this voice robot space right now. So,
sure.
I think it's going to be a big part of the next 5-10 years. It's just going to take a lot of molding and work from the AI community and development community just to continue to make the experience better.
Absolutely. And reminders for users on how to integrate into their life. I have the HomePod in my house, and it's been, some type of adoption of, I don't have to touch anything to set my alarm. I could just say it. I don't have to ask what the weather, look up what the weather's going to be later. I could just look it up. I can ask, verbalize any thoughts I have and get a quick answer.
Yeah. And a lot of those changes are actually changing your routine.
Exactly.
And that's a really hard thing to do. People like their daily routines, and to come in there with a change, even if it's for the better, telling a person who's been and is pretty used to jumping on a phone call and waiting on hold and pressing 0 1,000 times to get to the operator.
Yeah.
Showing them a bot or something on the website where they can probably get what they're looking for in a minute. Where the phone call might take a half hour.
Yeah.
Even though it's more convenient, such a change in the routine that it's not the easiest transition, so.
Sure.
And that's where you see like mainstream audiences and things like that they talk about in marketing, like really play an effect where it's kind of like trendsetters, like, this is actually common now. I don't think it's quite there yet. It might be close as far as like AI experiences. But not yet.
Sure. What about the digitization? I think I said that right. What about the digitization of a celebrity, thought leader, public figure? Is it to the point to where you can build an AI version of them where it feels like you're talking to that individual, but millions of people can be interacting with them at once?
Yeah. So it's difficult because everybody has their own persona.
Sure.
And you've got AI and what it can do, but then it's also, we used to take a deep look at this, and we used to categorize people under 4 different personality types.
Okay.
And throughout the chat experience, we would create, let's say it's a decision tree, and there's 4 buttons. It's like choose your own destiny. But each of those buttons go to the same place. However, they're all written a bit differently. Like yes, yeah, yes. Where you can start to recognize.
It's a new one.
Based on what they click,
Yeah.
you can start to recognize a pattern on their personality type.
Okay.
And we would even play around with changing the copy on the bot to fit and reflect like mirror kind of what they wanted. And when you go into such strong like celebrities in these things, these are big personalities. So to mirror their personality type and really get right across the board, possible but difficult. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. One thing that we do at Botcopy is we just launched a live chat. Now we're not a live chat software.
Okay.
We do provide it. We're kind of AI web chat first. But to help people to speed up the cycle of getting it live onto websites, we're now offering this live chat solution with this company called Janus, Janus AI. And how it works is, if the bot can't recognize something, you're going to want to chime in as a human if you're around a live chat. Each response is then recorded, and then you have the option after the conversation to train the AI based on how you handled it. So if you made a sale or if something really good happened, you might want to train the AI to do that. And you can like kind of manipulate it, but that might be a good way to start with these celebrity bots, is just really have them answering the questions, and then the AI starts to take over.
Wow. And just hearing you talk about it and imagining what your day-to-day conversations are like with your enterprise level clients.
Yeah.
I mean, how soon is this going to be replacing jobs? For instance, you were touching on like a sales call concept there. How soon can an account executive, a business development professional be AI?
So I think there's two sides to that question. And being in the space, we get asked that question a lot. And I guess I'm kind of biased because it's created a job for me. It's created a job for all the people who now work at Botcopy. So in one point of view, that it's creating jobs, and a lot of these enterprise companies that we go to are now creating their own AI wings. And instead of outsourcing to, a creative agency, they really want to handle, how the AI is built, what it's saying, what it's learning next, what information we're learning from it. They want to handle in-house. So you look at companies like, it's a good example, Intuit.
Okay.
They've got an AI team currently of over 200 people.
Wow. Talking about tax software.
Yeah, like think about how many questions you have when you're filing your taxes. So just a nice bot to bounce questions. How do I do this? I'm 1099 freelancer. Is there any tax incentives to do X, Y, or Z? There's millions of questions that their call center has been answering. They even have part of the experience where you can set up calls with their team. And so I kind of know these numbers because we look at this, but on average, especially if you're outsourcing it, you're spending around $1 a minute to facilitate those call center bills.
Sure.
And so companies like Intuit, they're looking at that you get millions of call center hits. That's a pretty big expense that you start looking at NLP engines to help automate. So, and it takes a team, and it's interesting because it starts to affect multiple branches of the company.
Yeah.
Usually a lot of people started it with a marketing team, but then it's like the creative team, and then it's the legal team because they need to make sure all the copy is like aligned,
compliant. And
then if it's successful and they're a pretty big company, then they look at it. Oh wait, can this work internally as well for the HR team? Because they, we get a lot like onboarding new employees, setting them up with benefits and things like that. So it slowly starts to touch every wing, and it'll definitely replace some jobs. That's already happened.
Natural progression.
Yeah.
I don't mean it as a bad thing. I mean, the job market moves around based on the needs, and like you said, 200 people to service the technology itself. Yeah. I just mean, and really from an entrepreneurial point of view, like how your future team members could essentially be bots.
They could be bots. They could be, it'll be interesting to see what types of jobs are creative. I think then And what I don't necessarily like is that they're pretty technical, which everybody isn't, so courses can change, universities can start teaching, coding might be a requirement, learning some, as English is a requirement, or one language or a couple semesters in a different language before you graduate. I definitely see coding being in there, like understanding how HTML works, and things like that.
Yeah.
But the people who, are currently employed 40, 50, 60, they want to go back to school. If AI starts taking their jobs, that's, I don't know.
Bigger question, right?
Yeah.
I know, Elon Musk and people talk about universal basic income. I've heard of different types of concepts that will happen at that.
Yeah, you got the Yang Gang saying that too, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, Yang is he wants to give universal, like, I think it's at $1,000 a month to everybody.
Sure.
To kind of help supplement what he thinks AI is going to, what kind of impact it's going to have on the job market.
Even the economy itself.
Yeah, and his thing is he thinks it's going to be a really good thing. But in the meantime, it's a big shift.
Sure.
And during that shift, how do we gear up for it?
That's the key.
I think
right?
I think that's the bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bigger question for another day, though, right?
Yeah.
And you were talking about Google a bit. Can you tell us more about what you do on Google? And I know you guys are a top partner there, right?
Yeah. So, let me try to back this up. So when, maybe I can address why we went with Google.
Okay.
Before jumping into Botcopy, we were, or into the software at Botcopy, we were doing the creative writing and taking on clients like HP and things like that to help with their chat experiences. And we realized that one of the better engines was Dialogflow, the NLP engine I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
And Google had acquired Dialogflow, which was previously API.ai. And they had acquired them about 2 years ago. So I thought that was an interesting acquisition. Okay, why would a company like Google, why are they in the business to acquire an NLP engine, and what are their plans to do with that? And you realize that there's a lot. It's also connected. Once you create a Dialogflow account, your agent, the AI, they call them your little bot, as they call it. Google calls it an agent. All its information is stored into a Google Cloud. So it's nice because the second you create one, all the conversations and you get your own, basically set up on Google Cloud. So it's like, this is interesting. Google Suite is, they're really interested in their cloud space. That's really, that's one of the biggest Google products is Google Cloud. Competes with AWS, Microsoft Azure, and all these are like the kind of the big juggernauts of today's market, like the cloud space. All the information is stored there, all the data, all companies are set up on there. And these NLP engines are just driving and automating a lot of the storage. And that's pretty fascinating. And you have all these other bot builders. You've got chat companies like Intercom and Drift who they're trying to create their own builder. And that's going head to head with Google and Amazon. So when we were looking at the space, we were trying to think about, okay, how do we enter successfully? We had a nice little brand going on. We were like writing for Amazon. We were publishers on their bot platform. And we don't want to compete with Google. So we looked at Google, and one of the biggest things, and after doing a bunch of research and feeling it from our own experience as well, clients were asking for it. They didn't have this web chat interface. They had every other integration, but they only had a web chat demo. And we kind of made the decision at that point where the market opportunity was really, really good. You know, all the questions on like Stack Overflow and on Facebook Messenger or on Facebook Dialogflow community. There were constantly people asking, you know, how do we do this? And the only solution was super technical. There's a few GitHub repositories where you can look into on how to really customize your own web chat.
Mm-hmm.
But that means companies are going to spend thousands, maybe millions of creating the web chat, and then they have to spend even more creating their agent and building it out and updating it and training it new things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of why we are like, let's go. Let's produce this SaaS. Let's do it quick before anybody else jumps on our tail.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good timing, and we've been benefiting a lot of the of SEO by doing that, because there's a lot of people searching for it. So as soon as we write a few articles, we tag our website with Dialogflow web chat, we were picking up all of that organic search traffic.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now like number one Dialogflow web chat on page search and things like that, which took a lot. Like we have some really good articles out there, and we've gotten really good at tagging that. You know, also being a startup, we're pretty lean on how much money we have on marketing.
Yeah.
So it was
looking to play it smart.
Yeah, that's.
And actually want to get into that, you know, part of the format of the show. You obviously tested a lot to get to where you are today.
Yeah.
Both in your, you know, career and with Botcopy. And, you know, speaking either one, but looking at Botcopy, what would you know, taking from your experiences, recommend towards entrepreneurs in terms of, you know, product shaping, pivoting? Could be marketing channels, touching on partners like you had mentioned. We found this avenue with Google, or leveraging these other technologies. What from your adventure to get here could you pass along?
There's a lot, but I think like one of the biggest things that we've done at Botcopy is really just listen to the market.
Yes.
And there's a lot of ways to do that. You know, you can do it by searching yourself.
Okay.
I think a lot of startups have great ideas, and they're so close to them that they don't do the proper research. Like, is there anybody else that offers this? Or ask like forums and communities and things like that. That's been our biggest takeaway, because we really found a niche. Now it's a pretty technical niche. Like we're in Google's tech stack, which is nice. Companies usually only get to NLP if their expenses on live chat have gone too high, and they look at ways to automate that, and then they come to Dialogflow because it's one place and you can deploy the experience on multiple mediums. So it's like omni-channel, and it's Google. So there's a bit of a trust factor behind that, or at least secure that it's not going anywhere. But we would never have, we probably, honestly, if we didn't listen to the market, would have tried to build our own web chat bot builder, you know, and if we didn't spend serious time, really, we had the blessing of being an agency and getting our hand, like rolling up our sleeves. Now, what's great about that is we were paid to do research, more or less. Now we were doing it and building things for other people, but along that journey, we came out with software, and that was like that was a really cool thing. I don't think that's the path for every startup, is to
learn with your first paying clients.
But yeah,
which works out great and does happen like naturally out of it.
Yeah, you start to you keep your finger on the pulse.
Of course,
you know, the market has a pulse, and it's cool to like kind of get geeky with it and really figure out what that means, and whether it's asking. That's usually the best place to start. Just ask, or you know, looking at Google Analytics and identifying organic search terms within your space, and how to really benefit from writing articles like that.
Sure.
One thing that we've done with our articles is we made not necessarily a mistake in the beginning, but I was writing a ton of content just to write content about things that I thought was really nice and fun, and we've got a big writing staff, so the writing was actually pretty well written. But the search for that general topic wasn't really there. And so after we spent some time and said, okay, here are the search terms, with Dialogflow. How do I do this? How do I do that? So we would write articles based on those search terms. Now, we could kind of segue away from that, but at least to capture it in the beginning and slowly bring people to our website. That was, once we got really good at that content distribution based on the search engine optimization, that's where we really started to see some crazy growth within our web hits and traffic coming to our site.
Wow.
Yeah.
So going from almost word of mouth to, hey, now we're getting organic search engine traffic. People are finding us based on these words because we're writing content to rank for some of the more popular searches among our target audience.
Yeah, and if you can find a way for your word of mouth to have some influence as well in the beginning. Now, we kind of stuck our flag in the ground as the only creative, only writing for AI in the beginning. So we got some cool respect across the space because, we weren't website copywriters, we weren't ad writers, we weren't any other writing hat. We were AI writers, and we had Botcopy as a domain name, botcopy.com, which gained a decent amount of respect. It was needed. People really wanted to write and hear from really good writers. How do we make this better? So that was cool because it gave us some influence in the space. So what I was trying to go with there. And we were able to take that influence and kind of listen and say, okay, well, the best way for us to see and house and really make your conversations better is with this software, put it on the websites. And we're able to chime in on these big groups and communities within the AI space, move off the momentum that we had by gaining a little bit of our own influence and kind of pivot the company in the direction the market really wanted to take us. And I think that's important. It's one thing just to listen to people or, jump in the space and be at the right time, but kind of identifying yourself as a thought leader is just as important as well. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. And, when it comes to optimizing, what I like to point out is, unfortunately, the failure rate of startups, I think it's 90% in the first year, 90% the year afterwards. Not everything works right out of the gate. Yeah. So, what optimizations did you make? What optimizations overall do you recommend as a best practice? Yeah. What can be changed up? What could be pivoted if the first thing out of the gate's not working? I mean, you obviously mentioned we started doing creative, then we started going in these channels for bots. We really found traction here. Were there any that made all the difference for you in terms of optimizations or overall rules you would put out there?
Yeah, well, we've made several changes to the company, including the pricing model. But you kind of touched on a sensitive topic with the failure rate. And I personally have a belief on that, and have kind of set Botcopy up in a direction based on that. And it's really that the traditional, at least the past 5-10 years, thought process for a startup to have to raise money and have to raise more money to keep going, is fucked up. I don't know how else to say it.
No other way to say it.
You have to sell. Honestly, you have to create something from the get-go that you can sell. And then once you sold it, make a little change, pivot the product so you can sell more of it, and let those sales take you in the product direction.
Yes.
A lot of companies have raised, they raised $1 million based on an idea, or or maybe they've built an MVP or prototype and then raise a decent amount of money. And well, don't get me wrong, sometimes that's definitely needed. We got away without it. We were able to make a few sales. We did, take on some work to help people write and design their conversations and funnel that money into eventually the product development. But the thought process when you have that security blanket of $1 million plus, you're not really pivoting your product based on, we'll go back to like the Pulse thing. You're pivoting on, we're going to run out of this money in the next 18 months. So what can we develop in the meantime to get our company to this next level? Maybe it's a shiny piece. And this isn't for every company, but I think that the actual sales and selling something and growing the product based on what you can sell yesterday is missing. And a lot of companies spend 2-3 plus years trying to figure that out and go through a lot of money in doing that. When we can't afford to do that, every decision has to be backed by a credit card being swiped, with Botcopy, or else we're out of business. You know? And we changed our pricing model. We had like the subscription thing. We were charging for adding someone to your organization, like the seats. And it was going okay, but at the end of the day, we realized that every feature that we add to Botcopy, we want to contribute to more conversations. We don't want to just add features because they look cool or they're trending or, people hear about them. We want them to have a significant impact on how many conversations you have, because Botcopy's business model is just on conversations. So we charge 3 cents a conversation, which is, if it's an engagement session of the bot for 10 minutes. So as long as someone talks for 10 minutes plus, it'll all be one conversation.
Okay.
So we took away all the subscription. We got rid of all that. And just by listening and asking people, why it's pretty low. It's like $30 a month in the beginning. What's stopping you? And it was like testing, and we're just not sure how many we're going to have in the beginning. So we just took it away, and just use it. We give everybody 500 conversations for free. They run with it. Once they run out, they get politely prompted to put their credit card in. We have to stay in business.
Business is the monetization of value.
And we give all the features for free. They can add unlimited bots. They can add unlimited bot prompts, which is what the little chat guy says to you in the bottom of the right-hand screen. And really have fun with it. And it just at the end of the month, it bills them on how many conversations they had. And the first month of launching that, the customers from creating accounts to paying increased by like 450%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So just by
that was a good
changing that
feeling.
up and made
There's a
all
lot
the
of air
difference.
guitars going on in the in Botcopy headquarters that day.
We have video if you want to do an air guitar little demo there.
We were really slapping the face.
I love how you mentioned the whole piece about funding. And I say that not because I'm against funding seed capital A rounds, but I've seen it slow down projects and prevent projects from ever getting off the ground.
Yeah.
And even when we looked at capital, and given for a service-based business, we would have given away too much for too little of funding in the early stages.
Yeah.
And that was like easy for us. The ones that are hard, I've seen mobile apps, software as a service projects that felt they needed the funding to do anything, never get off the ground. And
that's just that's a crazy mentality.
Yeah.
I really don't like the word need to begin with.
Agreed.
I don't really think you need anything. There's plenty of shit you can do without anything.
Yes.
So you throw need in there, you just kind of sound needy.
Yeah.
It's like,
and you start pointing at other people for why the business isn't getting launched.
Yeah. Where,
you could start a social page and start building up an audience while you're putting together developer agreements on different equity. And, not to say any one route is right for anybody, just to point out the fact that from an investor perspective, You want to put money into projects that have momentum,
Yeah.
that are going somewhere with or without you, and you don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
Not on ones that can't do a thing unless you put in a few bucks to save them, and then they're still facing the same odds against themselves.
Yeah.
So, the fact that you said, no, we're just going to do this, what a great way to optimize right out of the gate there.
Yeah, trust me, it's every day isn't super exciting where, we're jumping up and down and slapping air guitars. It's risky. It's a risky way to do things. It's untraditional. But we know that it really makes us hungry.
Yeah.
Which I love. Like,
absolutely.
The whole team works 12, 15 hours a day. And we're just a young, fun startup, and we don't have any venture backing. We've self-funded a decent amount.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that hunger, and I want to keep it there. I want everybody to be happy, healthy, and safe and sound.
Sure.
But I really want every decision on the product to be so well thought out that it's like, well, if we make a wrong decision here, we could, this could be bad. This could be collapse. Now, I don't want it to be like that on every decision, obviously, but I want that seriousness to be thought out. This isn't a good idea. Let's really do some research behind it to make sure that if we're going to spend another 3 months developing this new feature, that how many credit cards is it going to contribute to?
Yeah.
Why? And if you show me 10 people that say that they would stick with us for another year if we had this feature, then let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't, then let's consider doing it down the line.
Sure. Features follow revenue.
Yeah, and that
cases,
also
right?
And that also goes with marketing. What is this feature launch? Like each feature that we launch, like this week, this month, we launched organizations, adding people to your organization. We launched the live chat integration, and a really cool feature that we can basically capture information that you've collected in a previous, most of them are marketing campaigns, send it through a unique URL so we can capture the ref parameter there and pick that up in the conversation. So it sounds pretty technical, but a good example is if you applied for a job online, you get an email receipt saying, thanks for, applying. Click this button to check your status. Well, if you click that button, we basically pull all the information from the application. It would read something like, hey, Dustin, thanks for applying for position X. It's still under review. So we would be able to, we can add more context to the conversation now. And each one of those features, the point of all that rant was it contributed like 20% growth in our web hits. Wow. Each one. Where week over week, we're seeing more organic web hits, and then more of our previous clients coming back, and that's just as important to us.
Of course.
And because there's a lot of shiny features that we could run with and launch, but if they don't have a direct correlation to the company growth and eventually funnel into creating enough value to have swipe a credit card, that's a happy day.
Yeah,
that's a guitar moment. I have this vision of when we got one of the first big clients. And we've just been working like so hard. And the credit card notification came in, and they sent us this really, really nice email. And it was just so natural for us all just to stand up, and we were just like jamming on this air guitar, and nothing happened besides like fake music for an hour.
In unison.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted.
It was just so satisfying that, okay, holy shit. Like, well, we got some revenue coming in already. That was, exciting. Sometimes it takes a company 2-3 years to figure out how to get that moment.
It's important to cherish those moments. It feels every dollar afterwards feels different.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, like instead of taking on this funding, bootstrapping, and making every choice matter, every decision has to lead down a direction for you guys where it's producing revenue, so that it's growing the team, growing the products, allowing you to service more people.
Yeah.
And leading into scale. What difference? What's made the most difference for you guys in getting up to the scale that you're at? Being at such a high place in your vertical. Where are things going to go from here? I mentioned investments at a later stage allow you to really scale in different ways.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you see things going?
We're hitting this point where investment is talked about quite often.
Okay.
We've got the proof of concept.
Right.
We built the MVP several months ago. We've got several big companies signed up and paying, and now it's kind of put your foot on the pedal moment. Mm-hmm. And funding can help accelerate that. Now that we have kind of an algorithm of what the marketing looks like, what the traffic is, we don't really have to test there and burn dollars figuring that out. We actually have quite a bit of research on where to deploy that if we do go into paid ads. And also we've got a lengthy list of product requests. So the use of funds is pretty clear. We're going to put our own money into, from the revenue that we have into that growth, but funding does speed up that process. And if we continue to find that pattern of, this feature will produce grow the company X amount, and really line item the product roadmap based on those numbers. Obviously prioritize the one that's going to have a bigger effectiveness. Not on just like from a marketing standpoint, but also lifetime value of these customers. Like we want to keep them as long as we can. And that's really where it's an appropriate time to raise money and really scale it. And we've gotten kind of the legwork out of the way. And then also you kind of hit this momentum where, especially in our position where we haven't raised any funds, sometimes that can be really stressful for the team. And you briefly mentioned it a second ago, but really celebrating, small wins along the way.
Yes.
'Cause it can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like you can just get lost. I'm staring at the computer screen for way too many hours in a day. And if I don't find like little small wins, you can just go crazy. And a really big part of scaling the company is scaling the team. And kind of installing that like culture where there's cool things like don't take it for granted. Like today I was looking at Google Analytics and just checking out the demographics. We've got a handful of EU clients recently, so we're looking into all these GDPR updates and things that we have to do with not only our data sets, but recommend for these companies to do because they're creating the chat. So we've been doing a lot of research on that. And I was just looking at in Google Analytics, you have you can look at geolocation, like where everybody's coming from, and we're in almost every country right now, all over the world. We touch every continent. There's been a Botcopy account created in almost every country. Now that could just be like one, it could be hundreds in that country, but that was an exciting moment. Like I looked at the map and it was like, you ever play the game, was it Risk? What was the war game where like you take over the map?
Risk,
yes. I don't want to sound it like Risk really, but it kind of looked like we were all over the map. I was like, oh my gosh, this is
a lot like that game Risk. It's about copy offices when we measured it out.
That might be a bad analogy, but we were like
I like it.
We painted the whole map and it was like it was really inspiring. We pushed this language localization feature because so many clients out of the gate didn't speak English as their first language. So they kept asking, how do we get the web chat to speak in French and Spanish and all sorts of things. So, that wasn't on our product roadmap in the beginning to really spend a lot of time adjusting our web chat. So now it recognizes your browser settings. So on your internet browser, Chrome is usually the number one. In your settings, you choose a language preference. Depending on where you bought your computer or phone, it's set to that area. So mine is in English. But if I change it, default setting to like Spanish, our web chat recognizes that and changes the copy accordingly. A really cool feature, one of the bigger features, like when we launched that, all these clients that were kind of kicking the tires of Botcopy suddenly created accounts because it was needed.
Yeah.
Their bot only spoke Spanish, and ours in the beginning, the web chat was only recognizing English. So yeah, that was a cool thing.
I love it. Earlier on, you're saying lowering the cost, bringing on more clients. Now opening up to new languages, new markets, scaling to whole new levels.
Yeah.
So, very actionable type of insights there. And it's obvious you guys are going to continue growing, and it'll be harder to get you in for podcasts down the line here based on the success you're seeing.
Just more sailboat trips, and we can think about creating the next one. Yeah,
no arguments with that.
Yeah.
What any other things you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to leave the audience with for their projects, whether they're entrepreneurs or marketing directors, COOs at growth level companies?
Yeah, just there's all sorts of advice you could give to different people in the organization. I'm not the right person to always give that advice. One of our co-founders, his name's Rob LeBeau. He's just an amazing writer who's transformed into this now tech guru and an SEO expert, and writing these articles where at first we didn't really have a content library or calendar, and now he's crushing it. And the same goes with the other co-founders and Alex Seegers, and he's able to. Alex was actually on the boat trip as well. Mention. Yeah, he was right there, and you're gonna have to wear a lot of different hats.
Yeah,
and you're gonna all wear the same hat every once in a while. And you need to set that as an expectation, or else you just, especially if you're a startup, you gotta really all help each other out. And I think it's easy to get focused in just doing one thing and not helping out and really communicating there. And then for larger companies, AI is coming. Check out Botcopy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And highly recommend it. If you're looking for anything, get in touch with Dustin. He is the authority in this space from everyone I had spoken with, and even some of the other people I know we've crossed paths with over the line at the conferences. All name drop you as well too. So
I appreciate that.
Can't validate what you guys are doing enough. Yeah. Thanks again for coming in today.
Hey, this has been awesome. I'm glad I rode my bike over here.
Glad you're able to shed knowledge for us.
Yeah.
And we'll have to have you back on again soon, sharing about more how you've scaled.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Dustin.
Cheers.